Hey guys, how's everything going? This is JSer. This video, let's take a look at this new feature called Cascade Layers in CSS. It's already supporting, I think, almost all the modern browsers, and it should be a powerful tool, a powerful technique to organize our CSS code. But before I start, I must say, this cascades thing is the pain in the ass. I must say I don't like. I think the CSS is powerful, but I don't like the C part. CSS is the cascading style sheet or something. So the C actually is cascading, but this is just a problematic. And as already put in previous videos, I tend to like the practice of native apps. I think it's like a creating a local style sheet, and without this cascading stuff. It's just we have this like React modern JavaScript libraries, which would allow us to organize our code based on component. And CSS in JS should be the right future. I think I know that there are a lot of still some issues, which means it's not perfect right now. But I think the direction is right. Is that we only need to focus on the styling of a component, and rather than just adding those cascading features like those sibling selectors. I don't like them. I think there should be a way like we're declaring that kind of logic in the script, and somehow the compiler, some smart engine could just detect that kind of logic and use the CSS to improve the performance. Okay, let's cut to the shit. Go to the this document is from CSS Tricks. It's really a nice and a long article to explain what Cascade Layers is, and I'll just a brief look through it and hope we can learn something. So basically the problem is if you're writing script CSS, you know that the priority of us CSS rules on the same element is very complicated, right? It basically depends on the specificity. If the CSS rule is more narrow, more specific, then it takes higher priority. Then this leads us to a huge pain in the ass. If we we have multiple sources of CSS. Usually, I met this kind of issues for a lot of time. Like when I'm using some component library, it often is coupled with some script and also some style. I need to import those styles, but then I need to do some overriding, right? I want the component to be more aligning to the style of my app, and then I need to override them, but there's no such easy way to override them, and it's just some trial and error, right? Try some CSS rule selector, and if it works, use that. If not, then try it again to make it more specific, and or as you adding the important rule, which is not easy to maintain. If I update the library version and somehow this CSS breaks, I need to update my overriding again. So anyway, it's just a pain in the ass, and the Cascade Layer allows us to grouping the CSS together and putting them in the layers. Just the layers is a good name, I think. If you think of you are drawing some image in the Photoshop, there is this kind of layer concept, right? And we can divide all those CSS rules into different layers. And first, for all the CSS rules, we have first the priority of layers, and in each layer we have this priority of specificity. Is this specificity? Specificity. Yeah, specificity. And in a more similar example is that, remember when we are using the position, of absolute, right? it is relative to the first parent who has the position, who have the stacking context. So in each stacking context, we can the z index will take effect, but even though the z index have a lower z index, but it's in a higher high priority stacking context, then it will take priority. Let's just search for the where is it? Okay, there's an article on MDN explaining the stacking context. So basically, yeah, each stacking context itself is self-contained. Like here, like the green here, they are different stacking contexts and they have their order. And even though like here, like z index is 1, even though it's smaller than the z index 2, but it's inside of a stacking context, which is on top of this stacking context, then so it's still on top of this z index 2. The cascade layers is working just like this. We are grouping the CSS rules into these layers, and then in each layer, the current specificity rule takes effect. So that's the basic idea, and let's continue. So this is the syntax. We are creating all these layers, and then this order matters. This means that overrides takes high priority, and also we can import some CSS and import them into different layers. And this means the dot means the sub layers. It's inside of components, and then we could say, okay, we define a CSS rule inside of this layer, which is utility, and this is defaults layer, and also everything other than layers will take highest priority. So the layers actually is adding something with lower priority. You can think of it. Cool. Yeah, there's some problem explanation, as I was said. It will make the life much easier, and let's just skip this part. Yeah, this is the nice chart. Some of them I'm not very familiar with. Yeah, I'm not really like for shadow DOM. I'm not familiar with that. I'll just skip it. Important. So this is a very important part. I think I need to address this. So I think everyone knows that their CSS has this origin, meaning what kind of for a page to be visible, there are multiple CSS sources applied. One is the browser styles, which like a Chrome, Safari provides those different default styles, and also user preference. User can change the font size, change the color stuff, I think, in the setting, or for Chrome, they can use the extension to change the style, and then is our style, right? So basically, the first we will apply, you can think of like first apply the default browser style and the user style, and then we will apply our web app style. And then we can override them because we are on top of them. We have higher priority. But one thing important that is when we are adding the important style, it is working in a reverse. What it is means that when we are defining our important in our rule, it actually doesn't mean that it will definitely take precedence, like taking is using the highest priority. It means that in this layer, we are defining styles in this layer, and if there is an important rule in the user preference, then it will still override our important rule. So it's like go up to our style and then go back from our style to the default style if there's import. So this is very important, and I didn't know before I read this article. Cool. Important layers. So let's take a look at the example here. We can inspect it. So this link, actually, you can see that okay, we don't need actually. Yeah. the call link here, the link here has this color of maroon. Okay, because I don't know what the color is, so I need to inspect it. Yeah, maroon. And it has underlying style, right? And let's see what the style is. We have layers, default, component, unit, utilities, means default, low party, middle party, high party. So default, we have this link, say, okay, text is, it's underlying, but it has important. So it means that this actually will takes highest priority here in a top layer. So this will be underlined, even though we have defined the text style to none, also with important in this component. So there are two important rules in both in component and the defaults, but defaults will take high priority. But on the other hand, if for the color, we also define them color and also utilities and also components. And here, utilities takes the highest priority. So this is what we want, what we expect, right? Because low, middle, high. Cool. And yeah, order. Order here's one thing to notice that no matter what we, okay, yeah, we don't need to define the layers that we before we use them. Like here, yeah, this is not necessary. We can just still use this, or even we could omit the layer name. If we don't use the layer name, we cannot use this, like target layer or extend the layer again. Yeah, so the idea is that the order matters. The first layer that appears, okay, we're here, will be on the bottom of the order. Yeah, let's look at the syntax. So we can define a layer without anything. Yeah, this is the order, layer order. So this one low priority and this one higher priority, but those styles outside of the layers takes highest priority. And then we could also define them again, but this you can see that we have this default here, framework here. It doesn't matter. It only matters where it appears first. So reset, default, framework, component, and this will be omitted, and reset utilities. This how we add the style into the layer, and adding a style. Yeah. Also, the layers support grouping. Layer 1, and we could have a layer 2, 3, which will be inside of 1. But theoretically, it would just like they will be always put together, and it could be flattened. Yeah, this means that we could use the dot to access the subgroup, sublayer. Inside of the layer block, it still follows the same rule. So here it is not with any layer, so it will take a higher priority than this one. Cool. And we could import to the layer, which is pretty cool. And revert a style in a layer. It's similar to this one, but I'm not very familiar with this part, so I will just skip. Okay, yeah, it says when we use revert layer, where how is used here. So this is default. We set the color to a anchor link, and for theme, if it is for layer theme, we set the color to brand primary. This purple, this is fallback, right? Okay, cool. And if it is no theme, it will revert layer. So actually, it will revert this color, I guess. We'll back to the use value set in a default layer. Yeah, it should only revert the style in this layer. Cool. So if we revert it, it will revert the style in this layer. But if we remove, okay. But when we remove that revert layer into the important position, we revert both the normal and important versions along with everything in between. So I don't know what this does this mean. Okay, things get interested if we add import to the revert layer keyword, because each layer has two distinct normal and important. This doesn't simply change the priority of the declaration, it changes what layers are reverted. Let's assume I have 3 layers defined, okay? This defaults, component, utilities, yeah. We can flesh out that to include that not just normal and important position of each layer, but also unstyled style and animations. Okay, so this is reverse important, yeah, and then CSS animations. Now, when we use revert layer in a normal layer, the result is fairly direct. Yeah, we would revert only that layer, while everything else applies normally, yeah. But when we remove that revert layer into the important position, we revert both the normal and the important version along with everything in between. This is like a quirk. This is very hard to understand why we do this. Why not we just revert this one? Why? Why? Is there some... Okay. So this is a layer. We have a rule there. If we revert, we don't revert just this layer, but all the layers to its corresponding layer, including the CSS animations part. No more unlayered styles. Yeah, I don't know quite why. Yeah, if you know why, please comment on my YouTube. Okay, so let's summarize up. So what's the use cases we would want to use them? As I said, it's a way to organize our code better. Here's an example. If you want to use the reset CSS, like reset the default styles, we could like import them into a reset layer, because this will be lower priority than our normal styles. It will be safer for us to use. We don't need to care much. Cool. Yeah. And also, it is easier for us to use third-party tools. Yeah, like if we want to use this is another reset. We could put it in all the reset layer, and inside the reset there might be multiple reset, and also we could add our own reset. And we don't need to care about the order. It will always be what we expected. This is more like a controllable, more certain. Yeah. For utility, we because for this kind of like a specific rule, we want them to be always like working. We don't need to use important right now, because we put it in a utilities layer which is on top. Cool. Yeah, and this is an example of using the layers with existing frameworks. Like okay, important bootstrap local, import the bootstrap here, and for local, which is the most important part, and for important, yeah, add important style in the lower layer to override any important framework styles. Yeah, if you want to override the important style in bootstrap, we could put them in a lower level layer. As we said, important here will take higher priority than the bootstrap. Cool. If you're creating a CSS library, we could export different layers and allow us others to use. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, here are some tests. Let's give it a try. So here is a p tag, and we have a layer, and we have a p tag. As we said, layers are always lower priority than the unlayered styles. So it should be green. Should be green. This one, we have 2 layers. This one layer, this unstyled, unlayered. This is not a layer. Even though they have important. Okay, no. Here's the problem. This will take high priority, but we have the important. So this one ren would actually have another important layer. It's lower level than Stimpy, so it will have higher priority. So it should be red. Red, awesome. Another example here, we have 3 layers. This is sublayers, and we have this style in this Capulets layer and Verona and Capulet. So yeah, this is simple. Verona has this high priority, so it will be blue. Yeah, even the selector has 0 specificity, it will win. Cool, debugging, you just open dev console and it should be work. Yeah, here's something interesting. Yeah, when we're using the external style sheet, we use this link tag, and it will be better if we can import them into different layer, right? Yeah, but it's not ready yet. Oh. Interesting. This is quite some interesting syntax I've been saying. So there's a media tag, and we check if it supports layer, and we will set the layer. Otherwise, this will just be ignored, right? But if you ignored, this one will be. This will just create some unexpected state. So it's better we need to. If it is not supported, we better ignore them, I would say. Yeah. So this layer will be conditional based on the media. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's all. So basically, let's just summarize. The Cascade layers allow us to group our CSS rule based on layers, and it's just working like the stacking context, and help us mitigate the priority issues of CSS rule, which is the pain in the ass. But honestly, I don't like the cascading at all. I just strongly believe we should use local styles with a script-based component. CSS in JS, that's the future. We need to move on, continue exploring. That's it. Hope it helps. See you next time. Bye bye.